We've changed it up already. If you were surprised at that, then clearly we don't understand the levels of mood reader that I have become. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we are starting a bit more of an unusual vlog. We are doing a 5-star predictions themed video, which would have been easier if I actually did a video that was talking about 5-star predictions and then I'll be like, I'm just reading these. I didn't do that because preparation just didn't go into this. So I'm going to quickly list off some of the books that I think are going to be 5 stars. I'm then going to randomly choose books out of these to then read throughout this vlog. This is a vlog that's going to be taking place over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we're going to see, am I actually going to enjoy these books? I don't know. I always love it when people do this because I think it's so much fun to see whether they were right in their predictions or not. And I don't know, I'm really picky with my 5 stars. I've definitely got a lot more picky, so we're gonna see. One book I know for sure that I will be reading this month that I do predict to be 5 stars is Hellbent by Leah Bardugo. This is the second book in the Alex Stern series. It's her first adult fantasy book. I would say it's more fantasy horror. I really loved Ninth House. I thought it was so good. It was fantastic. I was hesitant going into it, then I loved it. I thought it was so good. We are following Alex and she attends a university. I think it's Yale, but don't quote me on that. And she is pulled into the kind of under society of that university where there are lots of different guilds where they like to mess around in paranormal powers to then get things like wealth or prestige or things like this. Now Alex is in a very unique position of being able to see ghosts. Because of this power, she is used to monitor the other guilds so that they don't do things that they shouldn't be doing. In the first book there is a bit of a murder mystery. You learn about the different guilds and stuff as Alex is thrown into it. You have a couple of different timelines going on, so you have the present of the murder mystery that's going on, you have the past of when Alex first joined and she's learning about this whole university and stuff. It's dark, there's trigger warnings galore. I really enjoyed it, and the second book releases this month, so I'm going to be getting that in ebook and I will be reading that, and I do predict that to be 5 stars. So that's number 1, that's definitely getting read. I'm aiming to do maybe 3 books in this video, we'll see, because the rest of these books aren't on my January TBR. It depends whether I can fit them all in. We have a selection of books, so let's go through them because they're all different genres as well. Deep Profundus by Oscar Wilde. This is a classic book. It is made up of different short stories. I could just be like, oh, I'm going to read one of them. I feel like that's a bit cheating. I haven't heard of these writings. I'm really interested in reading more by Oscar Wilde. I loved The Picture of Dorian Gray, so I do suspect another 5 stars. I feel like maybe it won't quite meet 5 stars. There's a lot of interesting ones, like you've got The Decay of Lion, The Ballad of Reading Girl, which is more of a poem, got The Critic as an artist. Like there's a lot of different ones, so I feel like if I read all of them it wouldn't be 5 stars. So I don't know whether to read one of the short story or not. I don't know. That's one that I'm not sure on. I feel like this is lower on the list, but I would also love to read more Oscar Wilde, so we're gonna see. Then we have a fantasy. And we have Marie Brennan, A Star Shall Fall. This is actually the 3rd book in a series, but I do believe you can read them as standalones. This one is taking place 200 years after the first book, which is why I feel like you can read it as standalone. And this one is The Royal Society of London plays home to the greatest minds of England. It has revolutionised philosophy and scientific knowledge. Its fellows map out the laws of natural world and usher in an age of enlightenment. But we also have a Fae court, and they live in secret below London, and the scientific developments are less welcome. There's lots going on in this book. I'm really intrigued. I love Marie Brennan's writing, so I have high hopes. I do think it's going to be 5 stars. We're going to try. I feel like this again may not get read just because of the sheer size of it, because it is almost 600 pages long. It's 595 pages. So because I'm trying to fit this in around my January TBR and I won't be talking about it in my other vlogs, again, I'm not sure, but I do think that's going to be 5 stars. A contemporary, which I would really love to get read actually. I might prioritise this one for sure. We have Megan Nolan, Acts of Desperation, and this one is all about a girl that is in love with love, ends up being with this man, and it ends up being really consuming and unpredictable. It's really quite toxic, and she starts looking at what it was to be with this person. I've heard nothing but good reviews saying it's really impactful and and I have high hopes for this. I really do think it's going to be a hard-hitting book, and hopefully that's going to give it that 5 stars from me. I do want to continue branching out and reading a bit more contemporary. It's not something I read loads of, but I would love to do that. So I think for sure, yeah, you know what, let's say for certain we got Hellbent for sure and this one for sure, and then the other two are also maybes. We're gonna choose out of these last two. We have another fantasy book, that's Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series. I love this series so much. Paranormal murder mystery fantasy series, and it's great. I love it. In the Diviners we are set in 1920s. Is it New Orleans? I always get the town wrong. No, New York City. There we go. A new begin with a new. And this one, following our main character, she gets sent with her uncle because she's not acting the way she should. However, her uncle is actually rather eccentric and she gets tangled up in a murder mystery. She has paranormal powers, and then you meet a host of all different characters who also have paranormal powers. I love the setting. I love the writing of it. I think it tackles things really well, like the racism that's prevalent in the 1920s, the fact that you're not meant to be gay and all of that, like all those difficulties during that time. Libba Bray does an amazing job of weaving it in with this story. I love it. I'm so excited to carry on. I cannot wait to see what happens. So yeah, I definitely think that's going to be 5 stars because the previous 2 books, I think the first book was like 4.5. I don't know why I'm telling you loads of star ratings because I don't really do them, but enjoyment level wise, about 4.5. And then the second book, 5 stars. Absolutely loved that book. And this I also think is going to be a 5 stars. As I say, I don't tend to rate my books apart from on Goodreads. However, 5 stars basically are new favourite books. So that's what we're hoping. And then the last book, which could go one of 2 ways. I'm either going to absolutely love it or I'm really not going to like it, and that is Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. And this is a historical fiction book, and we're following a boy that found a book hidden in this forgotten library. He got told he could bring it home, and ever since then people have been after him after this book. He's trying to find out more about this book. I don't know, some people absolutely love it and some people really don't, and again it could go either way. As I said, Hellbent for sure, Acts of Desperation for sure, and then I think it's just going to be a mood pick between these 4 books as to what one I read. And also timing wise, how much time do I have left? This is the hunt for a 5 star, a new favourite book. I predict that all of these have the potential to be that. We're going to see if they actually are. So we will catch up soon with whatever book I have started, and yeah, I'm excited. I haven't done a video like this before, so it's going to be really interesting. Let me know if you've read any of these. What do you think? What are your predictions below? Do you think I'm going to be giving these 5 stars, that they're going to be new favourites or not? Let me know. I hope you're all doing well, and I will catch up with you. Normally I would say tomorrow in a vlog, but it's probably not going to be tomorrow, so I will catch up with you soon with whatever book I have started. Let's ignore the hair, shall we? It's beautiful. Not. I got caught out in the rain, but that's not the point of this video. This video we are talking about the books that I think are going to be my favourite reads, and I started Acts of Desperation yesterday. I got to chapter 6, page 58. What I'm really liking about this book is that the chapters are really short. Like, some of them have been a page, some of them just a couple pages. We're following our main character and you don't really get to know her name. It's quite personal, so it almost feels like it could be you in the story. She is describing a relationship that she was in a few years prior with a person named Kieran, and how toxic and really quite difficult this relationship was. Obviously we're only at the start, but I can already see the starts of that toxicity and the way that she is thinking. Now on top of that, she is also borderline alcoholic with the way that she drinks all the time. It's just a really quite toxic lifestyle that she's got at the moment. And it's really interesting to read that and read her perceptions about love and how she likes herself in love but hates her life when she's not in love and doesn't have things to do with her time. And it's really, really interesting to see how much she relies on others to feel a sense of self. I just read a chapter which I actually dogged. It was only 2 pages. It was at a time from more present time to when she's actually thinking about all of this. This whole chapter is about that concept, about how she loved herself in love. The new person that she is by being in love not only makes a depressing and boring life feel interesting, but makes it into an entirely different kind of life. A transformation which is the nearest to actual magic I have ever come. When you fall in love with someone, your life is remade. You know instinctively that you must take great care of this delicate new world the two of you are building. There is infrastructure to be dealt with, dams and bridges, and town halls to be planned. The high stakes precarity of what you're doing will frequently bring tears to your eyes, both from fright and from exquisite pleasure. One wrong move and the whole thing could collapse before you have even finished construction. Couples will often disappear together for months in their beginning stages, which is not just about lust, but also about building. It's that sort of writing that's really... I'm really enjoying this book. It's so beautifully written. Yeah, I do think that this could potentially be a new favourite. I am really enjoying this book. I think it's just so hard-hitting and it's so honest in itself as well, and just how she acts around Kieran, how she changes herself so that she can become more lovable, but how difficult that relationship actually is, and how she shouldn't have to change herself to fit into this small little box to make him happy. And it's just a really in-depth, honest look at how a relationship can be so toxic. You don't even realise it at the time because you're so desperate to be loved, and it's just so raw, and I am really loving it. But I am feeling like changing it up because I think this is a book I want to take my time with. I want to go over the first bit and annotate it because I didn't bring my annotating supplies yesterday. It was mine and my partner's 6-year anniversary, so we had a nice hotel night and everything, and I always get there a bit earlier so I can have a couple of hours to read and chill on my own, but I forgot my annotating supplies, so I want to re-annotate that because I think there are some amazing quotes and things to be pulled out of this book, so I want to take my time with it. So I think over the next couple of weeks I'm going to read this one rather slowly. It is a short book, less than 300 pages actually, so I think I'm going to work out all the page counts and then work out a number to hit each week or something like that. I know, I'm a bit organised like that. Hellbent isn't out just yet, which I will be reading as an ebook anyway. So that leaves me with the third book that I want to read for this week, which I know literally for you a few seconds ago I was holding up a stack of books of like, these 4 books is what I'm going to mood read out of. Yeah, you know what, I don't want to read any of those now. So instead, I'm going to go for one over here, and I'm actually going to go with Madam by Phoebe Wynne. This is another one that when it came out in hardback, I was desperate to read it, and I thought it was definitely going to be a new favourite book, and then I waited until it came out in paperback to actually read it, and I'm really feeling this today. I'm really craving it. The lighting, honestly, I've got my 2 lamps on because it's so dark. It's only 3 o'clock, but it is so dark. Anyway, that's not the point. Point is I'm really craving this afternoon, and it is one that I do think is going to be a favourite book. I'm not sure why I didn't put it on this list. I feel like maybe because I had it on a different list of videos that I was thinking about doing. I'll let me check, because I'm also going to be doing a seasonal TBR, so I do have some books that I am specifically waiting till that season, so maybe it's on that. No, it's not on that list, so I don't know. I actually don't know why I didn't think this book, but this is a book that I've been dying to read. It's dark academia. The synopsis and everything just reminds me of Mona Lisa Smile, where you have Julia Roberts being an art teacher that goes to this procedure school, and she's trying to teach the girls to think outside the box and to explore different things. I mean, it's a lovely film. I love that film, and I feel like this is just the English teacher version of that film, but it's going to be darker, and I can't wait. I'm really intrigued. I really want to read it, and so I think that's what I'm going to read today. So we've changed it up already. If you were surprised at that, then clearly we don't understand the levels of mood reader that I have become in the last couple months, because yeah, it's really, I'm really making it a point that my TBR games that I have, I stick to those as much as possible, But yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to have the mood read prompt because the way it's happening at the minute. But yes, we're going to start with Madam this evening, and I will keep you updated with how it gets on. We're going for a red theme. Have we noticed that? Red theme? Not bad, don't mind that at all. But yeah, okay, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling at you now and go and read for a little bit. I'm so pleased I picked this book up. It was definitely the right decision to go for this one. It's so good. I'm enjoying it so much. As you saw, I started tabbing, which I have the tiniest tabs in the world, so it doesn't show up very well. We have 3 different tabs going on. We've got pink for mentions of mythology because our teacher Rose is a classicist and she focuses on Latin myths, and I'm really loving that. You do get sections in this book where they focus on particular women in mythology, so this one's Antigone, and you get 3 pages of their mythology, and I'm really enjoying that. And we have Rose trying to teach these girls about mythology, and she's really invested in trying to obviously teach them and get their grades up. However, she's finding it so hard. They're not interested in learning at all, which you would say is pretty standard for a group of teenagers. But it's weird because she's not getting the support from the other teachers to have that connection with the girls. They're very much like, oh, but they've got other things going on, and school just seems so weird and sinister. And that's where the second type of tabs comes in, which is red, and that's for all of the really creepy, unusual things that is happening. So there's just unusual stuff. I should probably say where I'm up to. At this point on chapter 6, page 126, we have Rose that is really starting to notice all of these weird things that's happening in the school, such as when she goes down for dinner, she notices that by the food is these little cards that says the recommended amounts that they are allowed to have, the nutritional content, and they are monitored as to how much they eat, which she finds really weird. You have the fact that they have to wear these really old school uniforms, which Rose kind of just chalks up to, well, you know, it's an old school, they've got that elitism about them, so that makes sense. But then there's other things that are going on that's just so unusual. They have like these punishment classes, and it's just weird, and she doesn't know exactly what's going on with all of it. The headmaster still hasn't met her and introduced her to everything that's going on, and there's just so much that is unexplained within this school, and also about her predecessor who Rose took over from, what happened surrounding that. They won't tell her. It's all really unusual. And then the third set of tabs is around a particular girl. Again, just seems to be so unusual with stuff that's happening. I actually got to chapter 6, page 126 last night, and then decided at that point I wanted to tab, and I knew the colours and what I wanted to tab, so I then spent an hour going back through the book and adding in all of the tabs and underlining things. I'm just really enjoying it. I think it's really good, and I like it. It's also a comment on the power dynamics between men and women. There's a lot of unusual sentences that the girls will say, like the fact that, you know, they're just meant to be obedient to men and that's the way it should be, and it's just a bit unusual. And Rose is like, I don't agree with that, but we'll tackle that one another day. Let's get back to this lesson. And she's really making the girls think and go, but you shouldn't just believe what you're told. You are allowed to think for yourselves, and also questioning the fact that women are allowed to rebel against men, which these girls just don't seem to think is the case. And it's just really enjoyable. I'm really enjoying it. It kind of reminds me a bit like The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead in a different way, because we're seeing it from a teacher's perspective that's come into this cult-like school with these weird beliefs. We haven't quite got to the part where we understand what all those beliefs are, but you can get a feel for it, and it's just, again, looking at those power dynamics. So it kind of reminds me of that style of book, but in this. A lot of the blurbs that were done for this book from different authors were saying how it's kind of like Secret History, but just like redone with feminism and stuff, which is an interesting way to put it. I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really good. It's sinister, there's a lot of tension to it, it's it's creepy, and at the same time Rose is like, but this is a really good position to be in, but there's just certain things that are happening that you're just like, that is not right. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm really pleased. So I'm going to be continuing on with this one and Acts of Desperation. Both of them really good, both of them in different ways. This one, Madam, is kind of incorporating a lot of things that I really like. I was a bit hesitant going into this because it's actually really low rated on Goodreads, but I'm really pleased with this. I'm really enjoyed it. So obviously I still got quite a bit of the book to go, so we'll see if it continues that way, but so far my only complaint with this book is that the chapters are so freaking long. But apart from that, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, this is a great start. I'm so pleased that you all chose for this like 5-star vlog. It's been such a good reading time, and I've started this at the same time when I finished Argo, and if you saw that vlog you would know I was not there for it. So it's been lovely to pick up a couple of books that I am absolutely loving. But I need to go. I need to start a new weekly vlog for you, and yeah, we're going to carry on with these 2 books and then pick up Hellbent. I'm having the time of my life. I think it's great. But yeah, okay, enough chit chat. Good afternoon. We have some reading updates clearly because this is a reading vlog. I have started a new book and made a little progress in one of the books. So let's start with that. I've read a little bit more of Acts of Desperation. I'm now up to chapter 4, so I really struggle with how this is broken up because it's broken up into like almost like different months. Christmas 2012, chapter 4. This last chunk I have not connected to that much. I've still liked it, but it hasn't hit me the same. So we're following our main character, and she's been spending Christmas with her parents, thinking about that and her thoughts around that, and that's about it really. So I haven't connected with that much of this part, and I haven't read loads of it. I literally just that little bit. I think I read it once for like 30 minutes. So yeah, not many thoughts on this one. I still am enjoying this. I think it depends how it's going to go. If we go back to what I was enjoying about the first part of this and that connection that I had to this book, then yes, it can definitely be a new favourite. But it does all depend, because it's a contemporary book. For me to have a new favourite in a contemporary book, especially one like this, I need to be able to connect to it. Otherwise I can say I liked it, but that's it, and I probably wouldn't reread it. So I'm really hoping we get back to the part that I was really enjoying about all of this, and that raw honesty, and you still have that when she's interacting with her parents, but it's just something that I couldn't connect to. That's literally how I'm feeling about that. But I don't have long left to go. I've only got like 200 pages left, and I do plan on finishing this one soon. I would say soon, but I'm actually thinking next week, because the reading vlog that I've got physical books to read for at the minute, I want to prioritise finishing that book. So I think these 2 are going to go on the back burner until next week, which is so frustrating because I really want to carry on with both of these books, especially Madam, with the fact that I've been tabbing it and stuff. But I haven't read any more of Madam, and I really want to get back to this one. That's going to be priorities next week. However, I did start the ebook, which is Hellbent by Leah Bardugo, and we all knew that I was going to be definitely reading this book because it was the one I was most excited for in this video. I am loving it. So I started it yesterday because it was available on my Kindle yesterday, and I got up to chapter 8, page 71. So I'm reading this one while I'm at work. I do think I would have benefited from rereading Ninth House before this book, because I did read Ninth House like 2 years ago now, and while I do remember the main plot points in it, those little nuances throughout the book would be very helpful to be fresh in my mind. And normally, like before I did YouTube, then yes, I would have done that. I would always make a point to reread books just before the new one came out, so it was all fresh. Don't do that anymore. So it would have helped, but at the same time, Hellbent is doing a really good job of kind of recapping what's happened, but not in like an info dumpy, like here's what happened last time, you know, when you get those TV shows that go and do that whole thing. It's not like that. It actually flows really well throughout the book, and when they're thinking about it. One of the main things that I do think people can struggle with this book is the way it's formatted with timing. We're following Alex, and we've had the resolution of the missing person element in Ninth House, and so that's now been found. The missing person has been found, and so you're following that in one timeline, and everything leading up to it. However, you also get points where she will flashback to things that have happened, and this could be flashbacks from over a year ago when she was being mentored and just like random things that she's thinking of that he told her. Could be a connection to something she's seen or something like that, and she'll just randomly have this flashback in the middle of the scene. And then sometimes it's a chapter that's actually just set in the past. She's having to deal with something in the past, and you're seeing that reflected because she's got, alongside the fact that this missing persons case has been resolved but with some side effects that they were hoping wouldn't happen, she's also dealing with something from her past life that's putting her in a really difficult position, and so she's then having to try and manage and juggle that. It can take a moment to get used to. I am particularly fussy about time jumps. It's something that I will always notice in a book if it's done well or not, but for some reason it works for me with Hellbent and Ninth House. There's something about the way Leigh Bardugo does it that I just think flows and works, and normally it wouldn't, but it just does, and I find it so interesting, and I'm so invested in all the different parts, all the different timelines that are happening, and the way it does all get woven together. I just think it works for some reason, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm so invested. I love it. I'm not going to go into too many details of what's happened because it is a second book. It's so good, and I'm so pleased I picked up the Kindle version so I could start reading it straight away. I will be getting the paperback as soon as that is out, but I'm so pleased I don't wait until the paperback's out because this is such a good book. I've been so hyped for it and I am loving it so much. So yeah, this is great, and definitely gonna be a new favourite, because I mean I expected that because it is the second book in a series. So that's what I'm planning to read more of this week because I'm on the night shifts. I've got 4 nights left, so I'm planning to read this while I'm at work, and to be honest, by the end of the week I think I'll have it finished. And then, as I say, next week I'm going to focus on these two, and then this video will be done and hopefully finished in time, so that will be good. I don't know if I would do this sort of thing again. You'd have to let me know if you like this sort of more themed vlog. As much as I'm loving the books that I'm reading for it, especially because these are all books that I predict are going to be new favourites, and so I'm loving the reading and it's just been so good, I am finding that it's a lot to do. So because of it, I'm actually in the middle of 5 books. I have a body read, which is a month-long one, so that's understandable. But then I also have the book I'm reading for my normal weekly vlogs, and so it just means I'm reading a lot all at once, which I actually am not minding. From someone that 2 years ago would only ever read 1 book at a time, to having 5 on the go is a bit crazy, but I also don't mind it. But I am not sure about like juggling. I don't know. Basically, do you like this? If you do, would you like to see more? And if that's the case, then let me know what sort of things you would like to see, or whether you would just like to see one of these every so often where I'm reading some books that I'm anticipating are going to be new favourites. But right, okay, I'm going to stop rambling now and actually get on and do things. But yeah, this is so good, and I love the colour scheme of these 2 books together. I know I said it before, but I do love it. It's a shame that I don't have Hellbent. There is a red, I think it's Barnes & Noble edition of Hellbent, and that would be like perfect, but I don't have that, so anyway, right, okay, I'm still rambling. I'm enjoying Hellbent and all of these books, but yeah, right, let's go. I've made some progress with reading, which is great because this vlog is meant to be going up in literally, I think, like 5 days? 5 days. And we've not actually finished much, which isn't great. What I started this vlog, pretty sure I started it on the 1st of January saying, hey, this is what this vlog's gonna be, and then proceeded to read nothing for a week. So I really did screw myself over. I had 3 books I wanted to read. I could have read a book a week and had this done. Instead, I'm now trying to cram everything into this last bit, as well as keeping on top of the usual weekly vlog. This was badly planned by me, absolute bad plaid. I hope you're enjoying it though. I haven't read any more of Madam, but I'm really excited to. I am going to read it this afternoon. I think I'm going to read it while I have lunch before I go to work. That's going to be my focus for the next few days. Fingers crossed I get it finished in time. Then we have Hellbent, which I've almost finished that book actually. Oh, I'm 80% of the way through, so I'm on chapter 37, page 386. So I don't have long left of this book at all, which I'm very thankful for because I do need to get a wiggle on and finish these books. So hopefully, I mean, for definite, that's going to be finished in the next few days. This one I am really enjoying. I will say I can see why some people won't enjoy this book because it does feel a bit repetitive. If you reread Ninth House before going into this book, I think you're going to notice those repetitions a lot more. For me, because I haven't read Ninth House in like over a year and a bit, I am not noticing it that much. It's only towards the end of the book that I'm like, okay, this feels very repetitive. We're going through the same emotions of, oh no, we need to go do this thing, oh we got thwarted, now we have to try again and stuff. So it does feel a bit repetitive in that sense. There's also more murder mystery going on, which happened in the first book. Personally, I actually don't mind that because I love a mystery. However, there is a plot line in this that I feel like could either have been expanded more or was just used as a way to make something else of the plot, I'm being really vague, I'm sorry, to make it something else of the plot make sense. As a result was just, it feels a bit clunky, like it's just been put in there just because. Even with all of that criticism though, I'm still really enjoying this book. It's fast paced, it picks up straight from where we left it in Ninth House and carries on running with it. So there's always something going on. There hasn't been a quiet moment. I've really enjoyed it for that. And yes, like I said, there is that bit of repetition and I can understand why some people won't like that. I really don't mind. I'm really having just a fun, enjoyable time with this, and I'm really interested to see where it's going to go, how it's all going to end. The way it's going at the minute, I'm fully expecting there to be a third book. Do I know how long this series is going to be? No. Should I actually find that out? Probably. If it all ends as just a duology, I think I will then be a bit disappointed because there is so much going on, there's so much we can explore with this world that I think a third book would be really good. But as I said, I don't actually know. I might actually find that out before I finish the book and do the last update on here about Hellbent. But yeah, so far I can say this has just been fun. So enjoyment level, I would actually put this as 5 stars, really enjoying it, think it's a great series, having loads of fun with it. Obviously go through Core Pile and actually see what it ends up being, which is what we're going to be doing for the book that I finished, which is Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. And it's a shame about this book. The first part of this book I was so connected to, I really enjoyed it and couldn't wait to see what the rest of it brings. And the rest of this book I haven't connected to as much. And it's not to say it's been a bad book because it hasn't, and I think a lot of people going into this will get different things from this book, and it's a really good raw, honest look at toxic love, as I've already mentioned in this video, but also the toxicity of how you can be to oneself, how living for the acknowledgement of others, the validation of other people is such a bad thing. How you should be happy in yourself regardless of others. And that's what this book was trying to promote, is that you don't need somebody else to feel validated, that you should be your own validation. And this book more focuses in on that relationship with a partner and how that level of need can turn so toxic in one another. But it also does look a little bit at family ties and friendship, but not as in depth with this book. So I like it for that, for tackling those things, but I do think the start of this, where I was reading that quote about love, and that was the bit that for me was the highlight of this book. As a result, the rest of this book was just a little bit lackluster. It didn't quite hit that high again. At the end of the book, it makes some really nice comments about the fact that she was finding herself. I think the fact that we never know her name is really good because you can insert yourself into this life and connect to it so much quicker, but also as a way for her to have not felt like herself. She's not found herself, and so she has no name. She has nothing. Like, she frequently says throughout this book that she is nothing without somebody else, and by the end of this book, she's learning to accept herself. I think it would have been really poetic if we learned her name right at the very end of this book, and it would have been that journey of I've found myself. But I still liked this book. Now, I do want to put this through Corpal. Corpal is a rating system that was created by G over at Book Roast, so I'll have her linked below. I have the 2022 version. She has done an updated version, but I haven't got that one. I quite like the 2022 version. But basically, this is how I get all my star ratings for Goodreads. So I don't use star ratings here on YouTube because I tend to do more in depth of my thoughts and feelings. You're getting all the updated everything that I'm thinking and feeling, the roller coaster of stuff that goes through with reading a book. So because you're getting that in depth, I then don't do a star rating because I do think star ratings are very subjective. However, the point of this video was trying to find a 5-star read, which is something that I have been not as good at finding lately. So we're going to put it through Corpal and we're going to see what we get. So Corpal stands for the different sections that we are rating in a book. The first one, characters. You know what, I think the characters in this was really good. You're mainly just seeing our main character and then her relationship with others. And it was raw and honest and I liked that. So I think a 9 for characters. I actually think that was done really well. Okay, atmosphere. I'm gonna put more of an 8. There were moments that felt like a little bit tense, a little bit more darker to go along with the toxic themes in this, but it wasn't prevalent the whole way through. And there were some moments which just felt a little bit bland, so I'm going to put an 8. Writing, honestly, I take forever doing these. I did like the writing in this. I think it was very honest. I'm going to put a 9 because that was very good. Okay, the plot line of this, I'm going to give it actually an 8. I think it was good, and again at the start of this book that would have been easily a 9 for plot. I really enjoyed it, but the rest of this book, it felt so sad and it felt very repetitive, and while that is true to life, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna stick with an 8. Intrigue, you know what, I'm gonna have to do 8 again. Again, at the start of this book I was really invested, really intrigued. By the end of this book there were moments that I wasn't as connected to, so lost the interest value a little bit. Logic, 9. It makes perfect sense. I think that it's so true to how you can feel. I think it does a really good job at calling that out. Some people go into this book and be like, I can't connect to this at all, and then there will be other people that will understand what Megan Nolan is writing about 100% and feel that connection, and that was me in certain points of this book. And then finally, enjoyment. That's actually the hardest one because I didn't enjoy reading this because it is so sad. It is very depressing. I would actually check your trigger warnings going into this because it is such a sad book. I'm going to put an 8 because I did enjoy the reading experience of this. At points it was amazing, as I've already said, but it was overall a very sad read, and if I hadn't left it all till last minute to try and cram read this book, which, because I actually read the majority of it yesterday, I think I would have preferred taking my time with this. And you know, I said at the start of this vlog that I want to read it slowly. That didn't happen, but I think it would have been easier to read if I'd read it slowly because it's such a sad book. So I'm going to give it an 8. So that ends up with a 7.29 rating, which equates to 4 stars. So not a bad book, but definitely not a brand new favourite 5-star read, but that's okay. I think maybe going into this book at different points in my life, I would have preferred it. I think if we rewound and I read this about 4 years ago, that would have been a whole different reading experience, and it wouldn't have just been the first point in this book, it would have been throughout the book, which I really connected to. I have grown since then, and while I can appreciate that I would have connected to this, I don't currently. So I don't know, I find books like this really interesting when it comes to contemporary books, about how it really does depend on when you're reading it as to how connected you can feel to it. But I've talked for a little while. This was 4 stars. I did enjoy it. So that's 1 out of the 3 books to read done. Hopefully the next update is going to be me finishing Hellbent, and then the last one, fingers crossed, will be finishing Madam. I'm hoping I get this all done in time and up in time. Fingers crossed. If you're seeing this on time, we managed it, and well done me. If not, then, well, we tried. But okay, right, I'm going to go get on with some reading, and I will catch up with you soon. Good morning. I have finished Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I've already said the negative side to these things. There are some negatives to this book. It is a bit repetitive. It's a bit all the things that I've already said, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know, I liked it. The way it's ended is definitely looking like there could possibly be a third book if there wanted to be. Whether there is or not, I'm not sure. I really should have looked into that. I still haven't. Editing Kirsten will hopefully have looked into it and put it here for us. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the way it left off, it's done it in a way where it could wrap up or it could continue, and I like that. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and yes, I can see that there would be problems with it, but to me, I just, enjoyment level wise, new favourite, 5 stars, really enjoyed it. If I'm doing it more critical thinking, then there's a couple of things that would stop it from being a complete 5 stars. Regardless, let's put it through core pile and see what it comes out as. Characters, I really like our characters. I think Alex is really quite well done. I like the fact that she doesn't show much remorse and stuff that's going on, but then you have the other characters and they all feel different, so I'm going to put a 9 for that. Atmosphere, also a 9. I really like the feeling of things going wrong. I like the way that hell was depicted when they go into hell, and just the emotions that they're having to battle with, I thought was all really well done. And I suppose that puts writing as a 9, because again, that's all part of it. I would say, I don't know, no, that's not a problem with writing. I was going to say repetitive, but I would say that's more plot, wouldn't it be? The plot line, it was good what they were doing, but it was a bit long-winded. So I think I'm going to put 8.5 because it was a bit long-winded. I'm going to be honest there. Intrigue, I'm going to put 9. We're doing a 9.5. I was really intrigued. I really wanted to see what was going on. I'm going to do 9.5 because I did. I really was interested the whole time. Logic is one of those things that, I don't know, I think it was well founded in logic, so let's go 9. And enjoyment has to be a 10. I did really enjoy it. Okay, oh, that gives us a 9.15, okay, 9.14 even. 5 star. Really pleased with that. I did really enjoy it. Part of me was thinking maybe it wouldn't be 5 stars, that it would come out as more of a 4.5, but I think I really enjoyed it. And I know there's problems with it, and I know I can look at it from that lens and reduce it down to a 4.5. I really liked it. I liked the pacing of it. I was hooked the whole way through. This is why I struggle with doing star ratings on here, because I don't want my star rating to influence you. I'd rather just be able to say, hey, these were the issues, but this is what I really liked, and leave it at that. But I really liked it. Anyway. I also did read more of Madam. I actually read this last night and I got through quite a good chunk of it actually. So I'm now on chapter 15, page 272. That's still my biggest bugbear about this book, is how long these chapters are, because they are long. But look, my tabs and that, we're still going. I really enjoy it. It has slowed down on some of the like Roman mythology side of things, which is a shame because I really enjoyed those parts. It's still woven in here and there, which I like. But let's start off with the things that I'm not enjoying quite so much. And it's just how Rose is acting, to be honest. Like, she's finding out, at this point in the book, she's found out what this school is for, and I think that was very predictable. And even one of the characters in there says to Rose, but are you sure you didn't realise that this was what was going on? And Rose is so like, oh my god, no, this is like so wrong and stuff, but she's only thinking to run away from the school. She's not thinking to stop what they're doing yet. And that is so frustrating. Hopefully we get that character development where she goes from stressing about trying to run away because she doesn't agree with it to actually trying to put an end to what they are doing. There's also been a couple of other things in here where a teacher seemed to be in a bit of an inappropriate situation with a student. It's one of those things like the girl was just sat on the desk and they were holding hands. But even Rose says, you know, it is drummed into us, do not touch the children in training school. I'm like, yeah, but you're not saying anything against it, you're not reported it, you've not done anything. And I get that she's new and she doesn't want to rock the boat and stuff, and she's on a probationary period, but at the same time, if something's wrong, you talk about it. So that was just a bit weird. Her reaction to that I didn't really agree with, especially because she started to feel a bit of jealousy, and I'm like, what is going on here? Also, there was a comment in here about how Rose finds out what's going on and then she's like, but what if girls don't like men? You know, and she's thinking of a particular student, and one of the other teachers goes, that's unnatural, you can't say that. And I'm just like, that, and again, Rose doesn't say anything against it, and I'm like, but you should, because it's not unnatural. Like, that was just really annoying. Now, yes, this book is set in the early 90s, and this school in particular is based on much older ways of doing things, and so back then, yes, that is the way it would have been seen, but I still think, seeing as Rose is meant to be this like visionary modern woman, you should speak out against that. Like, that is not an okay comment to let slide. And so it's like little things like that I'm just like, Rose, what are you doing? Please sort yourself out. So I'm hoping, again, we get character growth in this and she starts actually speaking out against it, because she does actually think to herself, you know, that's not right, but she doesn't say anything. And that's the thing that is frustrating. It's like, you can't just not say anything when things like that are being said. Like, you have to make a stand at some point. So I'm really hoping that starts happening. Otherwise, I am enjoying it. I like what is happening. Like I say, it was predictable where this book was going to go, but I am liking the exploration of it. I'm liking how you've got some of Rose's students that are starting to think a bit more for themselves, because Rose is teaching them so much about these ancient women that were standing against men and doing what they want, and Rose is constantly saying to the girls, you know, you're allowed to think for yourselves and stuff, and it's starting to make a bit of an impact on some of the younger children. So I do like parts of that. There are just points in this book where Rose is too timid, and she needs to say that this is wrong and stand actually against it all rather than accepting it. Especially, like, there's one thing that happens with one of the girls in this book and it's horrible, and she's just like, oh well, you know, they've been doing it for 150 years, who am I to say anything different? And I'm like, you should. Like, just because it's been going on for this long doesn't mean that it's like acceptable. Like, and so that's what's doing my head in with her, is just, please grow a spine and do something about it. And I get now she's been threatened and stuff, and now she has more of a consequence, but before that she didn't know that. So before that, there's no excuse why you didn't do anything. Now she's got to think a bit more, but even then you still should be doing what's right. So yeah, but that's the bugbear on that. Otherwise, I am liking this. I find it interesting. So that's it. We've got Madam to finish. I am hoping that I'm going to get this done in the next few days. I've only got about 160 pages left to read, and I've worked out if I do 50 pages over the next 3 days, I will have it done in time. Though, to be fair, if it happens like yesterday where I just get really involved in this book, then I am probably going to finish it up in one sitting, because that's one thing I've noticed about this book is those two parts, like the 227 pages that I've read, no, 272 pages I've read, I've done in 2 sittings, because I do find it so compelling to find out what's going to happen next and to see where it's going to go. But I do think all the interesting things were more at the very start of this book. Now I've just been getting irritated with how Rose is, and I don't know, I think it all hinges on how this book is going to end and what Rose is going to do. But like I say, if I get really into it, I think I could finish this in one sitting, because I am. Every time I pick it up, I am just reading it for so long at a time. But yes, that is that done. So we might actually be on time to finish this in time for this video to go up on Sunday, which is perfect. But right now I do need to go catch a train, so I need to get myself ready and go, because I don't want to be missing that. And I think I'm going to take this with me. I am annotating it, but I just think I'll bring my annotating supplies and do it like that. I feel like I want to have another colour of when Rose is just irritating me, but also I've already got 3 going on and that's quite a lot for me, so I think I'll leave it. Anyway, I'm rambling. We're gonna get back to you once I finish this book. We'll put it through core pile and we'll see if this one also turns out as a 5-star. I think it's hinging on the ending, otherwise it's not gonna quite hit it. But regardless, I've had 2 really good books so far this video, and this one is not a bad book to me, which I've repeated. Stop repeating yourself, Kirsten, just go. I'm gonna catch up with you once I finish this. Stopping the rambling now. I finished Madam, and thankfully not a moment too soon, because I need to get this video up tonight for you, but I really liked it. I think the ending of this book, it wasn't really about Rose and what she did to stop this, but instead how Rose's influence caused this series of events to happen, which I found really interesting. And after thinking about it for a little while, I think I would have liked to have tabbed Rose and her mental state and seeing that deterioration throughout the book. When we first meet her, she is a bit of a lost soul. She doesn't know how to identify herself. She struggles a lot with her mum and those interactions. Then when she gets to this school, she's very easily manipulated, and I feel that's why she gets stuck in this not knowing whether to fight or flight reflex. Instead, she is just stuck like a deer in a headlights situation and doesn't know how to deal with it, what to do, and she is so torn. And you're seeing that throughout this book, and you're seeing moments where she does just seem to have fallen apart because of all of this and her not knowing how to deal with it. And as much as she knows this is all morally wrong, she's like, I don't know how to handle this situation, and she's completely in over her head. And I find that really interesting, especially as she's teaching these girls about these strong women from mythology, and it's like she loves learning about it but can't emulate it herself. And I find that really interesting. I think once I started seeing it that way, as much as she still annoyed me, I could understand it a bit more, and I found it so much more fascinating. So I feel like this was a really interesting read, but we do need to put it through core piles, so let's do that. Okay, so characters. I do think Rose was an interesting character, and there's quite a few girls in here that were really interesting that could really give that insight. I'm going to give it an 8.5 because there was parts that I wish was different about Rose, but once, like I said, once I started thinking about it in that way, I found it so much more interesting. Atmosphere, I'm going to give, do I give another 8.5 or a 9? I don't know, I really liked the atmosphere. I liked the fact that it was set in Scotland and we had that whole setting and everything. Let me put a 9 because I do think that worked. Writing, I'm going to give 8.5. There was just a couple of things every so often that I noticed that I'm like, that could have been finessed a tiny bit more, but I'm just particularly fussy. Overall, I did like it. And the plot, I'm going to give a 9. I really liked the plot. I liked the power dynamics of what was going on. I liked the fact that this could potentially be a real thing that happens. Maybe not quite to the extremes that it does, but the way it's all integrated into society and everything, I do think is a full-on possibility. Intrigue was a 9. I constantly wanted to go back to this book. I couldn't put it down. I was loving it. I read so much at a time each time because it was so good. Logic, again, I'm going to go with 9 because, as I literally just said to you, that it's something that could possibly be real, which I find fascinating. And enjoyment, again, I'm going to give a 9. I really enjoyed my time with it. Clearly, you can tell that from the amount of tabs that I used up. Like, I actually ran out of the colours that I was using because I found it so fascinating. So that ends up being a 8.86, so a 4.5, which isn't bad, actually. I didn't think it was going to hit the full 5. I did at the start, but then, as I said, that progress with Rose and the way she interacted and stuff did hold it back a little bit. But I don't know, I really enjoyed this one. I found it super fascinating. I loved the mythology elements in this, although I do think it was better done at the start of the book. I think if it had more of that throughout it, the way it was at the start, then it would be a solid 5-star read, because you definitely got less of that. And I think, again, that was reflected in Rose's own mental state because she couldn't channel into these women anymore. And I think that was really quite fascinating. And I do think it's a really interesting study of, in that situation, what do you do? And following someone who is struggling to deal with it is very interesting. There was a lot of things in this book which are completely wrong and I don't agree with, and I do think Rose should have made a bigger stand and should have done things more. So again, that also goes with the fact that it's not quite 5 stars, because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff in this. Although there was a couple of pages where I didn't have a different colour for quotes that I found amazing, but there was 2 things that I really enjoyed that I just want to share. Once Rose has found out what this school is all about, she says, "If you tell the girls that enough times, they will believe it. But a woman does not exist for the pleasure of a man," which 100%. So I really liked that. And then there was another point. I think this book did have strong undertones of being a feminist novel, but at the same time I feel like it wasn't as fully developed as it could have been, mainly because that's reflected in Rose, because her mum was a massive feminist and a full-on activist, and Rose wasn't. She agreed that women should be empowered and stuff, but she wasn't that person to take it further and be a full-on activist for it. She was more of like a silent supporter. So I think that's another reason why we get so much in this book, because Rose wasn't, she was always on the outskirts of things like that, and so when she's put in this situation she's like, how the hell do I deal with this, because she's not done it before, which I know I've said, but I just found it really, really fascinating. You can see I thought about this a lot. But the second bit that I really liked was, sometimes as a woman we have to rescue ourselves instead of expecting someone else to. That's the best thing a woman can do. Learn how to rescue herself without the need of a man, without the need of anyone. This quote I can agree to a certain extent, because I think there's nothing wrong in asking for help, but don't rely on others in that sense, I think was more of the point of this. Is like, these girls have been brought up to rely on men, and men know best and things like this, and she's like, no, that's not right. The best thing you can do is rely on yourself and not be spoon-fed all of this information. But I would like to add, but it's okay to ask for help, because it very much is. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So overall, this reading experiment has been quite good. I've enjoyed all the books that I've read. Hellbent was amazing, as I've said. Acts of Desperation was really, really interesting. And Madam. I think out of the two, I kind of preferred Madam to Acts of Desperation. That's just because Madam has a bit more of the sort of things that I really enjoy. And I can't wait to discuss this book when I finally get round to doing that Dark Academia video. This is an interesting one, which again, I'm going to save the thoughts of them because we don't need it right now. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this week's, I can't say even this week's, but this video's reading. It's been really, really fun, and do let me know if you want to see more of these videos, because it was so good to read books that I enjoyed, every single one, and really interesting to see, would it hit that mythical 5 stars new favourite book for me, or is it just short? And I think that's really interesting. I love it. But yeah, okay, I am rambling. I'm going to go. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, then let's put a pink heart emoji, or is it red? I suppose it's more red. Let's do a red heart emoji, or pink. You choose for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I know it's a bit of a longer one. I mean, my vlog videos are always longer and I'm still rambling, but yes, so a red or pink heart in the comments below if you've made it this far. Let me know if you've liked it, if you want to see more of these sort of videos, and if you've read any of these books and what do you think. And right, that will do for now. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment. Those 3 things are so important to helping this channel grow. My social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next video.